WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. With over 350 restaurants to choose from, Bloomington, Indiana is truly a food lover's paradise. Go to visitbloomington.com to discover what suits your taste. This is Small Studio Signal Boost from WFYI. I'm Melissa Davis, your host tonight, along with co-host Adam Gross. Local music journalist and author of the Finding My Voice newsletter, Rob Peony, stops by to share 5 of his favorite Indiana songs. Listen in for tracks from Apache Dropout, Mike Adams at His Honest Weight, Bill Wilson, and more. We have a live performance tonight from Indianapolis band Mina and the Wondrous Flying Machine. We'll hear songs from their album Quiet Little Reckonings, recorded live at Square Cat Vinyl. Stay with us for an hour of new music from Indiana-based artists here on Small Studio Signal Boost. First, let's listen to a song from hometown heroes, small studio alums, and acclaimed road warriors, the Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band. Reverend Peyton and Breezy were the first musicians to play the small studio, kicking off the series 10 years ago, way back in 2015, in the first year of small studio sessions. The band is still going strong, playing tons of shows across the country, and they have a new single. Let's listen to the latest track. This is Honeysuckle from the Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band, here on Small Studio Signal Boost.
Control her, I'd suit her, control rain. I would rather wrestle with a coming train. Less a man might be drove insane, but I'm man enough. I don't want her tame. Honeysuckle on my mind. Trouble, trouble.
That was the Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band with the band's latest single, Honeysuckle. You are tuned to Small Studio Signal Boost from WFYI. I'm Melissa Davis with Adam Gross. Coming up, we'll hear top 5 from Indianapolis music journalist Rob Peony. But first, Adam, what's happening in the world of Indiana music?
There's so much good Indiana music to catch up on. First, I've got a collaboration between Dead Silence, Rome Herbert, and Albani. We'll hear their track Ashy, and I'll follow that up with I Care For You from Good Flying Birds.
If this version of me ain't the best, you still up to date. If I'm in the process, would you love me on my worst day? You know that it's the same way on both directions. Yeah, you fly with the makeup on, but I love imperfections. Could we skip the dresses to the sweats and see you in your essence? I'm not saying don't give effort, but my number one question, you gon' love me when I'm ashy?
Catch me when I fall. You build me up so tall. You clear my path to think. Pull my head from the kitchen sink. I fall into my head. Spend my day in bed. You peel back the
That was Indiana's Good Flying Birds with the track I Care For You. You're tuned to Small Studio Signal Boost. I'm Adam Gross here with Melissa Davis, and we're listening to music from Indiana artists. Melissa, what do you have next?
Yeah, I have one more tonight. This is from Indiana-based artist Holly Schultz. I found her music on the social medias, and she has a new album out called Now and Then. This is a single from the album called My Only One, and we're listening on Small Studio Signal Boost.
Morning sun shining in your eyes, my dear. Sleep never comes so easy when I'm alone, I fear. Dreams in my head keep on spinning, spinning, spinning round and round and round and round and round.
You're listening to Small Studio Signal Boost. You can check out the music featured tonight on our Spotify playlist by searching WFYI Music. And Adam, tonight you have a conversation with local music journalist Rob Peony.
Yeah, Rob has written about music for a few online sources over the years, like Sky Blue Window and Musical Family Tree, and he most recently started a music newsletter called Finding My Voice. He's also a huge supporter of local music in general, so I decided to have him come on the show and share some of his favorite tracks with us. Let's get into it. Rob, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Adam. I'm happy to be here.
So you're one of the biggest supporters and champions of Indiana music that I know. And in just a moment, you're going to share some songs from your favorite Indiana albums. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about you. You're a writer, and you've written music coverage for several publications. And you now have your own music newsletter called Finding My Voice. Can you talk a little bit about the newsletter and how that came about?
Yeah. As you mentioned, I've kind of carved out a small career for myself writing mostly for other people, but it started, I graduated from college in 2008, not many job opportunities at that time.
Sure.
And just as a vehicle for getting my writing out there, I started a blog called Thought on Tracks, just like your typical music blog from 2008, writing record reviews, interviewing people when we had the chance and that kind of stuff. And that turned into arts marketing for local organizations like Big Car. I wrote for a publication that CICF had for a little while called Sky Blue Window, things like that. And I fell into nonprofit work through that, just kind of through my interest in the arts. And I got involved with the Tonic Ball Planning Committee, which led to a job doing marketing for Second Helpings, the organization that event supports. From there, I left and went to Well Done Marketing and worked at an agency for a few years. And some feedback that I got from my boss, like consistently, was that he was always pushing me to find my voice in the work that I was delivering to these clients. So I had kind of like marinated on that feedback for a while, and like it felt like the last time that I had something unique to say about something was when I was writing about music for myself.
Yeah.
And I work for IU Health Foundation currently. I still do nonprofit work for my day job, but I just missed writing for myself about things that I care about. I believe in supporting the things that you want to see and hear more of in this world. That's why I work in nonprofits. It's why I'm a member here at WFYI. It's
Thank
why you're welcome. It's why I subscribe to multiple digital and print publications. It's why I collect vinyl music. I just think we have to put our money in our muscle where our mouths are when it comes to that sort of thing. So I launched the newsletter like 6 months or a year ago, just as kind of a vehicle to give me the opportunity to talk to people making things that I care about, that feel like they deserve a larger audience than they currently have.
Yeah, and the newsletter is called Finding My Voice, like
That's
your
right.
boss used to tell you.
That's right. Just like my boss used
That's
to tell
great.
me to.
I love that.
Yeah.
So local music, how did your interest in local music start?
Yeah. Like I said, I had launched that blog, Thought on Treks, back in like 2011, and that led to an internship in 2013 with Musical Family Tree. At the time, it was transitioning from being the redheaded stepchild of Small Blocks Marketing and under Jeb Banner, who founded it, into a standalone nonprofit of its own. So I spent the better part of 2013 for 20 hours a week writing and listening to Indiana music part-time. And if that job would give me insurance benefits for me and my family, I would still be doing it today. It was one of the best jobs I've ever had. That's where I fell in love with Indiana music, really. And just like moving back from Bloomington after college, I was like rediscovering this town that I had grown up in, and it had moved a long way culturally since I grew up here. And I just really fell in love with the local music scene, just going out to shows on 3-4 nights a week, when the things you can do when you're 20 that you can't do when you're 39.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that you can't go out 3-4 times a week, you have a family. What keeps your interest in local music going?
I mean, it feels like I'm just tooting WFYI's horn being here. But like coverage of local culture has come a long way, and I really do believe that WFYI deserves a lot of credit for that. I don't keep up with things nearly as well as I used to, especially contemporary stuff, but things like Cultural Manifesto, this show, keeps me connected to this stuff on a regular basis. I feel like there's better coverage of local arts and culture currently than there has been my entire life living in Indy. So there's lots of opportunities. I mean, you definitely have to seek it out, but I listen as much as I have time to.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's good to know that we're having an impact.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, the time has come. I know picking only 5 songs to share was very difficult for you.
It was gut-wrenching.
And I'd like to point out for everyone listening that you're pulling records, 5 records out of a bag right now.
That's correct.
So you brought the physical vinyl with you.
That's right.
I see Apache Dropout right there on the top.
That's right.
Is that number 1? Or in no particular order?
Yeah, this is in no particular order, but we can start there. Like I said earlier, I graduated from college in 2008, and there were no jobs. And so I was like working for a landscaping crew, cutting lawns in the suburbs during the day. And then I would spend the evenings going out to shows and kind of rediscovering the city that I grew up in at night. MOKB Presents was just kind of starting to gain steam back then. There was like a really exciting rock scene in Fountain Square that revolved largely around a house venue at 945 Morris Street, run by a guy named Jacob Gardner.
R.I.P. to that house.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. Now it's like a 4-story modern house. Yeah. Very different than I remember it. There were a lot of great bands making noise back then, but Apache Dropout kind of defines the sound of that era for me for some reason. Listening to their stuff just immediately transports me back to those sweaty house shows. I'm particularly fond. I brought their self-titled debut album. It was released by this small label called Family Vineyard, run by a guy named Eric Weddle, who also happens to work at WFYI.
That is right. It all comes back here.
Yeah, it really does. But yeah, in a previous life, Eric helped co-found Secretly Canadian. I think he's been on this show in the past. Is that
he
right?
has, yeah. He did one of these top 5s.
That's right, yeah. So yeah. Song, I chose Sam Phillips' Rising. I could have chosen any song from this record, but I really love that one.
Apache Dropout with Sam Phillips Rising. I'm here with Rob Pioni, and he's sharing 5 of his favorite songs from Indiana artists. He's got a stack of vinyl here, and I see on this stack of vinyl up next is another Bloomington musician.
That's right. Up next is Mike Adams at his honest weight. I've loved Mike Adams' music for a long time. He's an institution in the Bloomington music scene. Jason Woodbury, the editor of my favorite music blog, Aquarium Drunkard, referred to Mike as a pop rock auteur when he wrote about him a few years ago. And ever since, I've just thought that was like the perfect tagline for him. He's a songsmith of the highest order with like this really dynamic stage presence. Mm-hmm. And I chose I Don't Want to Believe in Anything off of his first record, Oscillate Wisely. This probably isn't my favorite Mike Adams song, but it's definitely one of my favorite tracks off of that debut, Oscillate Wisely. For years, I thought the simple interplay between the drums and piano would be a perfect sample for a classic hip-hop beat. So I chose this song to encourage any local hip-hop artists who might be listening to breathe new life into it. Not that it needs it. The original is perfect just the way it is. But I just have always thought that this could be like sampled and reinvented in some different, interesting way.
And I can get behind most every word he ever said, 'cause when it came to love, we had one. But I don't wanna believe in anything but
Another Bloomington rock auteur was a guy named Bill Wilson. I have a handful of his records. They all fall neatly into the singer-songwriter mold. He must have had a pretty big following in his time. My parents remember him, and they are decidedly unhip.
I was going to say, this looks older.
Yeah, it's 1973.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Much of his catalog can be too sleepy for me, but the story around his 1973 record, this one, Ever-Changing Minstrel, is the stuff of legend. The story goes that he drove down to Nashville, Tennessee, and knocked on the door of this record producer, Bob Johnston, who had recorded like Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde.
Oh, wow.
And just played songs for him in his living room or something. And he liked what he heard enough to call in the same session players that played on Blonde, and they recorded this entire record in one night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can play Black Cat Blues from Bill Wilson's Ever-Changing Minstrel.
Hard luck riding, yeah. Wearing these black cat blues. Hard luck riding, yeah. Wearing striped hats, singing these black cat blues.
That was Bloomington's Bill Wilson with Black Cat Blues from 1973, and Rob has the vinyl copy of this here, and this cover is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a rainbow, kind of, with his silhouette of his face over the front. It's very grabbing.
Yeah. The other thing I should have said about this record is, and you mentioned that I have a family now. I had a son in 2020, and there was like very little to do in that year other than get ready for my son to arrive. And so I spent an inordinate amount of time thinking about what was going to be the first record that I would play him when we brought him home from the hospital. And I finally landed on this record because I knew it had to be a record from Indiana because I'm really passionate about Indiana music. And there are probably records that would have meant more to me personally than this one for sure. But it's a great record.
That's great.
Yeah.
You need to get like a sealed copy to give him on his 18th birthday.
Well, Tompkins Square reissued it like a decade ago, so I probably need to seek out like the pristine reissue instead of this scuffed up old 1973 version.
This scuffed up 1973 version's great.
Yeah.
Okay, up next, you've got another one that looks like it has a pretty cool cover that I've also not heard of.
Yeah. This is The Late Show, and it's a record called Portable Pop. As I said earlier, one of the best jobs I ever had was as an intern for Musical Family Tree years ago. And in the summer of 2013, we put on this concert series in Broad Ripple Park called Listen Local. And it was this concert series. It was all ages, and we let people play what they want to attend. And thanks to the discerning taste of Everything Now frontman and then Musical Family Tree director John Rogers, one of the bands we booked was The Late Show. It features Don Main on lead vocals. Listeners would probably know Don as one of the co-founders of Puccini's Smiling Teeth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's still around Indy doing good things, making good food. But yeah, they put out this one perfect record. I don't know what year it is. But yeah, 1980. I think the guys that played in this band started as like high school friends at North Central when it started. I think the original drummer was Mark Kutzinger, who would go on to be the drummer in the Zero Boys.
Right.
I'm not sure he played on this record. But yeah, I chose the song Take a Chance because that seems like good advice for anyone who's interested in getting into Indiana music. Take a chance. It's worth listening to.
Hey girl, what you gonna do now that he's gone? Hey girl, I saw you smiling when I came along. Hey girl, are you looking for another guy to hurt? I love the way you walk, that's good. I think I'll take a chance. Take a chance.
Okay, Rob, last but not least.
Last but not least, this one goes out to my wife. I chose Busman's Holiday, What We Need We Know, off Popular Cycles on local record label Joyful Noise Recordings. I got married in 2017 at the old Central State Hospital. My wife, Carrie, and I had gone to this weird art exhibition there a year or two before we got married. There were like actors dressed up as ghosts haunting the halls of this old insane asylum. Somehow I convinced my wife to let me play exclusively original Indiana music during our ceremony, and she walked down the aisle to this song. So for the rest of my life, I'll think of my gorgeous wife in her wedding dress whenever I hear it.
Oh, that's great.
Future vibrates, presents put on hold. Days are young, the times are old. What we need, we know. The days are young, the times are
Rob, that was a very sentimental top 5. We have the song from your wedding.
That's right.
We
The
have
first record I played my son.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks for coming by and
But,
sharing
I
that.
mean, that's also just what Indiana music does, and I think why I like it so much is because it connects us to these very tangential things that we can like touch right here in our lives.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's important enough for your wedding and your firstborn child, it's important enough for
The listeners of
the
WFYI.
listeners of- That's right. That's right. Well, thanks for being a fan of local music, and thanks for supporting it, and thanks for starting your newsletter. I'm really excited to see where it goes. How can people follow it and keep up with what you're writing?
Yeah. You can find it at Rob Peony, that's RobPeoni.substack.com. And yeah, it's just Finding My Voice newsletter. If you search for it, you'll probably find it that way too.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for coming on.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Rob Peony, for that top 5, and thanks for supporting local music in Indianapolis. Coming up next, Adam has a live performance from Indianapolis band Mina and the Wondrous Flying Machine. We'll be right back with that after the break on Small Studio Signal Boost. Stay here.
night in the thunder and rain. 10 years gone, jumped the boxcar side, thought I'd
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. With over 350 restaurants to choose from, Bloomington, Indiana is truly a food lover's paradise. Go to visitbloomington.com to discover what suits your taste. This is Small Studio Signal Boost. Thanks for listening tonight. You can find the music featured tonight by following our playlists. Just search for WFYI Music on Spotify. You can find the podcast edition of the show wherever you get podcasts or at our website, wfyi.org/podcasts. Good evening. I'm Melissa Davis, joined by Adam Gross. And Adam, tonight you have a live recording from multiple-time Small Studio Sessions alum,
Mina Cohen.
Yay, Mina!
Yeah, we were lucky enough to join Mina and her band, Mina and the Wondrous Flying Machine, at Square Cat Vinyl for the release show of their album, Quiet Little Reckonings. The band was on point that night for a packed house in Fountain Square, and Mina's songwriting and composition skills really came through in these performances. And if you head over to our social media or YouTube pages, you can watch a video of them playing this song that night. It's Mina and the Wondrous Flying Machine live at Square Cat Vinyl on Small Studio Signal Boost.
So this next song is our single that's out on Spotify. I mean, the whole album's out, but we put this one out first. So there you have it, folks. It's called Another on the Chin. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want to hear your voice right now. It's not my favorite sound. And we keep going round after round after round after round after round after round after round. I'm just too damn tired now. Sometimes losing has more dignity than winning. Choosing your next words carefully is better It's not my favorite sound. And we keep going round after round after round after round after round after round after round. I'm just too damn tired now. You can't glean any wisdom from just hearing yourself talking. After all, it's just talking, only talking. You think we both know better, but apparently we don't know better. And if ignorance is bliss, shouldn't we be happier? I don't want to hear your voice right now. Didn't notice the tearing of my skin. Didn't notice we sank and couldn't swim. Didn't notice the trouble we were in. Just took another on the chin. Didn't notice the fortress I hid in. Didn't know you could cut through such thick tin. Don't have to believe every sin. Just took another on the chin. Thank you. Thank Man, thank you all for being here. I know we said thank you, but boy howdy, it is really nice to see so many friends in one room. So I truly appreciate y'all coming. This is another song off the album. It's called Just Friends. Doom, 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 da da doom, 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 da 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 doom, 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 da da doom, 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 da 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 doom, doom, da da doom, doom, da 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 doom, doom, da da doom. It was my last ditch effort. Saw the smoke before the fire. A call out in case something's listening. Beyond the steeple and the spire. Doom, doom, da da doom, 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 da 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 doom, 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 da da doom, 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 da 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 da. I lost you, though I promised otherwise. I lost Thank you. One, two, three. Once in a while, I wish I was a little bit lighter. Once in a while, wish that I could just keep still. Once in a while, maybe we could sleep through
That was Mina and the Wondrous Flying Machine performing tracks from their album Quiet Little Reckonings, live at Square Cat Vinyl in Indianapolis. And that's the latest in Indiana music. Be sure to follow your favorite artist on social media for updates and info. This is Small Studio Signal Boost. Adam Gross and Roxana Caldwell created our show. This episode was produced by Adam Gross and me, Melissa Davis. You can check out the podcast edition of the show wherever you get your podcasts or at WFYI.org. And if you'd like to send your music our way to get played on the show, just visit WFYI.org/local-frequency. And we are at our last song of the night. Adam, what do we have?
Yeah, this is Indiana's Preston Fox with Beginnings and Endings. Have a great night.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. With over 350 restaurants to choose from, Bloomington, Indiana is truly a food lover's paradise. Go to visitbloomington.com to discover what suits your taste.